So good evening, and welcome to another episode of Sofa Chat. That's right, another episode of season 2 of Sofa Chat. We got a packed show today. We're not gonna get nothing out of the way, so we're just gonna dive right in, right? Y'all already know our disclaimer. So anybody that says anything on Sofa Chat, it is solely their opinion, their feelings, their life experience. We do not endorse, support, or um, promote any company, organization, or any brand. But if y'all want to throw us some free shit, we accept it all the time. I'm just saying. Um, Typically, y'all know I have like a little snack, but I'm gonna just let y'all know, like, I had some tacos. They was really good, and that's all y'all gonna know about that. We'll do some tacos on another episode. Uh, let's see. We typically do our what's hot in the news, right? But today's topic is like really informative. So we're not gonna waste too much time. So ideally, first and foremost, for those of you who did not know, I need to let y'all know that March 31st was Trans Day of Visibility. That's right. It was Trans Day of Visibility. Hence the trans flag. So I'm wondering how many of our viewers decided to show their visibility as even if you're an ally to the trans community. Like, we encourage everybody every episode, so please throw up your comments throughout the whole show. We're definitely going to get to them. We'll post them up on the screen so y'all can see it as we answer each of the questions. No question is too personal, but definitely please be respectful of your question and the way you format it. Don't be disrespectful. All right. So the second thing we're going to talk about today, right? So I'm going to ask everybody out there, as, a little favor to me, because I'm gonna be there, and I would hope you guys be there. So ideally, every day, we hear between the news and on our daily journeys, we'll encounter a person that is ideally homeless. Let me reframe that. When you think of homelessness, you think of somebody that's sleeping on the street, on the train, on a park bench. The fact of the matter is let me open your eyes up. If you do not have a lease in your name, or you are not under a person's lease, ideally, you are considered homeless. So you never know that the person sitting next to you is probably couch surfing. So therefore, they're ideally considered homeless. So I'm asking everybody on May 14th, instead of just riding next to somebody that's homeless, passing next to somebody that's homeless, judging somebody that's homeless, why don't you get up and let's walk away homelessness? All right. So this is the flyer. It'll definitely be on the Sofa Chat social medias pages, and we'll continue to promote it. I'm gonna give you guys the information because the glare is a little off because, it's a pretty, finish. So the information goes as followed, and it'll go on all of our social medias. It's Walkaway Homelessness, provided and brought to you by Princess Janae's Place, a housing referral organization based out of the Bronx. May 14th, 2022, Morningside Park between 110th and Manhattan Avenue. Make sure you look out. I'm going to be there. I'm a former to the New York Princess pageant. I won't be wearing one of my crowns because, as y'all know, she's like 18 inches. My head is going to hurt, and I got to be at work the next day. But I will be there in full sash with the whole crew and a whole slew of people supporting to walk away homelessness, to ideally get up and make a difference, even though I do that every day. So y'all already know that we've already entered the month of April. Yes, we already in April, y'all. 4 months into the year. Can you believe it? My birthday next month. And our special guest, their birthday is at the end of this month. Oh, did I spill that? We're going to talk about more of that. Let me keep it going. So anywho, so April, if y'all didn't know, let me let y'all know. April is Autism Awareness Month. That's right. It's Autism Awareness Month. So you might not think you do, but you've probably passed somebody, encountered somebody, or know somebody that has somebody that identifies along the autism spectrum. My special guest this evening is family. That's right, family. Because anybody that not, well, let me rephrase that. Anybody that comes onto Sofa Chat is always going to be family, right? Because they become part of our family. They're Sofa Chat, right? But this person is actually family. Um, Autism, and this is, I'm going off of the information that I got on the autismsociety.org. It says autism is a different experience for every individual, and it is defined by certain sets of behaviors. Let that sit in. Autism is an experience that is different for everyone, and it is defined by certain sets of behaviors. So if y'all didn't already get the hint, today's show is focused on autism awareness. I really wanted to take the time to highlight this. There's a lot of things that you guys don't know about me, um, and I'm trying to keep my feelings in check. Oh, there's a lot that y'all don't know about me that I've done, that I've experienced in life that has touched my heart. Um, a lot of my traumas in life holds me back from expressing certain things. I hold them near and dear. But with Sofa Chat, I really want to bring them to the surface. So without further ado, I'd like to bring out my guest for this evening, none other than my cousin, Jay Delgado. So this is cool. So I can actually.
I'm excited to be here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So wait, I need to wet my whistle, y'all, because that was a lot that I said, right? And then I'm like I told you, I'm trying to check these feelings because the emotions start rolling and then the makeup starts rolling, and I didn't wake up like this. But I love to say that I do. So anywho, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Um, so before we dive into, you know, the juice and the nuts and the crannies of what we chatting about today, um, give the viewers a little bit about you and who you are besides my cousin.
Well, besides being Nani's cousin, um, I'm born and raised in the Bronx. Soon to be spoiled the beans. My birthday's at the end of the month. Soon I'll be 39. Oh my God, whew, scary. But anyway, yeah, born and raised in the Bronx, and went to school in the Bronx. I'm unemployed right now due because of the vaccination statuses in New York City. I worked for the Parks Department, and due to the vaccination mandates, I am no longer working. Which my reasons for not taking the vaccine has to do with autism awareness. Through research for my son, early on and stuff like that. I'm not pro-vax. I'm not anti-vax. I'm pro-choice. Um, everyone should consult with their doctor because not every vaccine is okay for everyone. So that's why I'm unemployed right now, but I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying my son, which is giving me more time to work with him, more one-on-one, which is, really important to constantly stay on top of them, working one-on-one with them, and just it's giving me more time because I'm not so tired from work, having to come home, do work with him. Now I could work with him a lot more once he gets home from school as well, which is it's been a blessing actually.
Oh, so he's back in school.
Yes. He was doing during the pandemic. They were doing full remote learning, and then they were doing a hybrid schedule, which was like a couple of days in school and a couple of days at home. And then they started going back to school, but then they started having teacher shortages, so then they went back to hybrid learning. So then we're doing he actually just started his full month back in school, which has been great because that socialism, going to school, getting out the house, that helps with their anxiety, and seeing their friends, it really helps a lot.
So before we dive into it, and like the different classifications and all that good stuff, what has your experience been as a parent with a child that's autistic?
Whew, patience like that. It's been rough, because like, when you're pregnant, you have all these dreams and aspirations for your kids and stuff like that, and then you start realizing, like, they're growing and they're not developing like they should be developing, and then like the doctors then give you a diagnosis that he's autistic, and then sometimes doctors are horrible because they make it seem like they'll never do anything. So it was just like, oh my god, he's never gonna ride a bike, he's never gonna do this, he's never gonna do that, and then it was just like, oh hell no, nah. So then when he got diagnosed, my son is 16, so there wasn't at that time. It was only one, and I think it was like 216, 18 at the time that was being diagnosed. Those numbers are drastically low now, which is really sad. It's
Mhm.
down to like 1 in 54, something like that. In boys is 1 in 27, and girls is like 1 in 116. So like it's becoming like almost a pandemic within its own right. Because like these children are gonna become adults. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And it's really hard, because then it's like, oh my god, his future. What happens? My biggest struggle is, what happens if I die? What happens to him? Like, you can't really, as much as you want to rely on your family and stuff like that, it's hard to put that burden on them. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't know them. They don't, it's hard. And it's always like, oh my God, if I die, always trying to have him to the point where he's independent enough where he
Mhm.
won't be that much of a burden to a family member or anything like that.
Oh my god. I'm like, see, what y'all don't know is my cousin and I have really never sat down and spoken about things like this. So we grew up, we had this whole childhood, and as we got older and we became
Life
adults,
gets in the way.
yeah, life
Life.
life got in the way, and we went. I went to one borough, my cousin's still in the Bronx,
Pretty
and then
much.
as adults, you have so much on your plate that sometimes it's difficult to come together as often as you want to. So to sit here, like, I have a slew of questions that I want to ask, and most of my questions are free flow, but like sitting here, it's like it's hard for me not to just sit back and just be like, I didn't know. So don't mind me if I take my long little, like, what seem to be like theatrical dramatic pauses. That's what's really all about. It's just like digesting the information. Um, at what age was he diagnosed?
Um, he was diagnosed closer to the 3-year-old side,
Hmm.
because I was taking him to one doctor, and then just the travel time and stuff like that. So I ended up taking to another doctor, which I was more familiar, which is sometimes bad to go with like the family doctor. You know what I'm saying? So like I started telling him about, like he's doing certain things delayed, and like his thing was, he's just a boy, they're slower and stuff like that. And I was like, this doctor is kind of old, so maybe he's not up, sometimes they're
Yeah.
not up with like latest things that are happening
Hmm.
themselves. So I brought him back to Harlem, and that's when he got diagnosed finally. I started going to the doctors. I started telling him that he was, staring at fans. There's a lot of signs, that
Hmm.
he started like only spinning. He wasn't playing with toys properly. He just wanted like spin wheels. He wanted to just like run back and forth the house. He wasn't really concentrating. He was At one point I thought he was deaf, because like he went from responding to his name to not responding to his name. So it was just like that. I was like, did he go deaf on me or something? Like, yeah. So that was like, oh my god. So then, they he got sorry, he got checked on and stuff like that. He got a whole bunch of series of tests and stuff like that, and then they came with the diagnosis that he had autism. So once I got that diagnosis, it was like, like I said, a crush, because like he was a super athlete in my mind. He's gonna be this, he's gonna be that, and it was just like, oh, now they're putting blocks in his way. So I still have a great friend. Her name is Iris. She herself was a mom. She herself is a mom of a child with special needs.
Hmm.
So she was like, listen, it ain't over. So she was like, let's get some books, let's read, let's educate ourselves, because we really didn't know anyone that was classified as autism,
Hmm.
and like I didn't have anyone in my family. I had a friend going in school that her brother didn't talk, but we don't really talk about things like
Hmm.
that when you're young. So like he was the closest person that I knew that didn't talk at like when he was little, you know. So it was just like reading, educating yourself, and just going through the motions and stuff. Jenny McCarthy's book really I'm trying when I was trying to find it in the house so I could get the exact name, but Jenny McCarthy wrote a book because her child was diagnosed with autism, and it was a real good like book to like just start like foundations, just checking off lists, like like I started out with changing his diet. It was just it's a lot of things that you go and you start putting emotions to try to figure out, okay, what can help him get better? How can we, get to the root of this? Is something causing this? And that was a whole couple of years of doctors and neurologists and a lot of poking. My son has white coat syndrome. Like he sees a doctor and he runs. Like he's so sick and tired of doctors. Yeah, he's been, they check all kind of things on him, and thank God, medically on paper, he's as normal as any other 16-year-old. So it's like he's had his chromosomes checked. Like it's crazy, like how much testing they do, and everything came back normal. So then it was just therapies, early intervention, speech, occupational, ABA, school. That was a whole nother thing. Like the District 75. I'm sorry, the New York City public system really doesn't really it's more generalized for them. They don't really understand that it's a really individual thing for children with autism. They don't use ABA. Like ABA is known to be the #1 therapy for children with autism. They don't even use that in New York City. They use this therapy called Teach. So it's just then he goes to school in Westchester County. I had to advocate for that as well. It's a lot. You have to be your child's advocate. If not, they get lost and they never improve and nothing ever happens.
So do you? Wow, I have like 1,001 questions now. I'm like, wow. Whew. Do you feel that he still has those barriers when it comes to like what you said about him being like a super athlete, right? Like, do you feel like there's still some barriers, or do you feel like as a parent that still has these dreams and aspirations for him that you've been able to?
They change.
Okay.
They change because they go from them telling you he's never being able to do that to like now he's playing baseball in an autism league. You know what I'm saying? So it changes, like, and they go from you're working on an exercise with them for like months and it's like it's not happening, and then that one day it all happens at once and it's like, oh wow, look. So it's like you can't give up on your kids, especially like their brains are still developing until the age of 25. So it's all about routine, consistency, getting them used to things. My son travels, he goes on a plane, he goes to restaurants and stuff like that. I've run into parents where like they don't even go to restaurants because they're like they don't want to deal with a lot of things, and it's a lot of times not even because of the child, it's more the parent, because like the parent feels a certain kind of way, like they don't want to make the noise in the restaurant, or they feeling embarrassed, or whatever the case may be, or they don't want to explain to people or whatever. But at the end of the day, like if you don't start exposing them, they're never going to get used to those situations. It's always going to bother them. They're always going to be a problem. And then you want to have a life too as a parent with a child with autism. Like you don't want them to always be dependent and not be able to go out and enjoy themselves like other people too.
So what advice would you give to parents that is a two-part question. So what advice would you give to parents that the first question is that see different, like see these identifiers in their child? Like what recommendations would you make to them?
Like if you start seeing like things,
yeah,
to tell a doctor right away. You know what I'm saying? And definitely like the earlier you get them in early intervention and therapies and speech and occupational, the earlier the better. You know what I'm saying? And then don't I had problems with my therapist in the beginning. Like I went through like 3 speech therapists, like 4 occupational therapists. Like some of them just want to come and make free money, and they're like, no, he's not in the mood. They're never gonna be in the mood to work. They're never gonna they never want to sit down and do things that are gonna better them. They don't. You know what I'm saying? So it's their job to work around that and get them to work. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't liking the way the therapist is going, if you've seen that the therapist is lazy, they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, get them out, because you have no time to be wasting. because it's like a window. You want to keep making the window bigger, and if the more you work with them, the window gets bigger. And then the less you work with them, it's that's why they be stuck in their own little world, and they're always in that one little world, because you got to try to get them out of there.
And how about for parents that have children that have difficulty with identifying that their child might be autistic?
The parents that are sometimes in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one wants their children to have a disability. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, no one wants their child to need special anything. But if you keep being in denial, their needs are gonna be bigger, and they're gonna grow, and then you're gonna, it's gonna be worse. You want to do it earlier. You want to keep saying, yeah, he's gonna snap out of it, but yeah, he'll snap out of it. But while he's snapping out of it, let him go to the therapies. Let him get the help he needs. You know what I'm saying? Don't stop him from getting the therapies that they obviously need. And people need to stop being in denial. You know the difference between a 3-year-old that's talking up a storm, having a conversation with you, versus your child that's running around spinning, a string all day. It's like, you can't be in denial. You have to, if you want your kid to really snap out of it and move forward and grow and flourish, you have to do what you have to do and cry. We all cry. We cry. We cry, suck it up, but then do what you have to do with your kid. But the earlier you do it, the better. Definitely.
So I guess we're gonna go. We'll do a few questions from our audience, but before we do, so were there any like you said you had your son Iris, right? Besides Iris, or even with Iris, like, do you have any other people, whether it be like personal friends, celebrities, like books that you've written, like you said, um, that have become like role models within like your advocacy for your son?
Um, I became my son's advocate. I just did a lot of internet, pulling articles from here, pulling articles from there, just a lot of research. There's no right way to do it. Everyone's child is different. Like some I changed my son's diet. Like I removed dairy from his diet, and within 2 weeks he went from like running around the house to actually sitting down for 5 minutes. So like everyone is different. So that's why what worked for Jenny is not gonna work for Maria. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you have to study your own child. That's why it's good to like sit in the therapies and work with the therapist. That way you learn from it, and then you could also, every child has a trigger that makes them act out. Every child's sensory is different, versus some don't like noises, some okay with the noises, some don't even like the texture of this, the flag. It might irritate them. So it's just, you have to learn your child. You have to observe your child. Observe them when they're quiet, when they're okay, and when they're not okay.
So what? Oh, that's a tough one. I guess what's available for you as a parent? Like even though there's not a lot of services and things like that, and it's always a progression with things because it's a battle to fight when it comes to
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of service. Like now they you could get a special coordinator. You know what I'm saying? And that special coordinator, you basically tell them what you need, and they go out and try to find programs for you and stuff like that. Those are like people like that. Like are starting from the ground up, and like they have no idea. A lot of times they get a service coordinator. The services have changed a lot with the years. You know what I'm saying? But it's still a lot to be done, because it's more within, like, if District 75 really wants to make a difference, like they need to start really building schools that are more accommodating to them, to have all their services in the school, like in an elementary school where they can go, not just because like some of them are just, it's just a simple half a floor, and that's it. They don't
Mhm.
go downstairs. They don't go downstairs. Go upstairs. They have like when I had to go visit my son's schools to fight the process of keeping him in Westchester. One school basically had it was just a little classroom, and that was their gym, and it was a ball with hopscotch taped on the floor. you know. And then we go a couple of classrooms down, and then we had the occupational and the speech room all in one, and it was a giant barrier separating the two. It's kind of hard to get someone who's probably who's working on speech language, who's probably shy, intimidated, who doesn't, who still needs a quiet environment to work when you got somebody else playing with blocks next to you. It was like some of these facilities aren't equipped with like the sensory equipment that these kids really need in order to strive and get better with their sensory issues or their speech therapies.
Mhm.
So, and just the simple fact that they don't do ABA. ABA is behavioral analysis. So basically everything is written down from when they start walking in, because they want to see what is a trigger to help them, you know, work better, or a trigger that, oh wait, at this moment, at this time, this happened, the light shined in at the wrong time, and because it's
Mhm.
funny stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like boom, that's his trigger. And it's analyzing, and then constantly communication with the moms and stuff like that. So it's and more getting parents involved and teaching parents as well. How more workshops for parents and stuff like that. So
So let's see. Let's see. Do we have any questions there? So y'all know my husband's my co-producer. He be making sure we looking fabulous. So I gotta always check up with him to see if we got anything going on. Because at times I be so involved in the conversation that I don't. I look at the comments, but I look at him for a signal. So we got anything going on that we should be looking at there?
Well, so far, just got a lot of love and a lot of waving and stuff like that. I'm just,
And we appreciate all the love, all the love. Please definitely shoot your comments. We definitely want some questions. I have definitely questions, but I want to make sure that I'm getting to questions that our viewers may have. Y'all should definitely got some questions.
I think everybody's like in awe right now, just listening to, your story and stuff like that. I mean, coming from my point of view, my son was not saying was he, because he still is, but he was diagnosed sort of autistic when he was younger. That and I had went through a panic stage when he was when I first found out that I had been pregnant, to go through Destin to make sure that he could read. So like before he could like even talk, and he was laying in his little cradle, I was flashcarding him. I was flashcarding this kid so much that at points when I was taking him in the stroller, I had him in the stroller or the push cart in the supermarket. The commercial that came out that says, "My child could read." It's funny because we laugh about it this day. That commercial that came out, "My child could read." That was my son. He was 2, and he reading everything. But there was other signs of other things going on, and that's what I liked about what you said, to be honest, because as much as he could read at that age, and that was an amazing thing, he had other things going on that showed that he needed extra help and attention, and like the first ends of like the school was pointed out, and the first point that they wanted to do was to put him on heavy medication, and I was against the medication. I
yeah,
was
so
I
am
was
I.
for I
So am
was for the programs and getting him what he needed, but I was dead against the medication, because he's still a baby and his mind is still developing, and there's no way that you're gonna put medication in, because we don't know how far he can develop on his own. And I was at the point where he can read, so we're not going to do it. We can move into another school. We can go through the motions and stuff like that. But we wasn't, and he's amazing. Right now to this day, he is
I.
amazing. He's grown. He's doing his own thing. He's in his own another state, in his own house. He's living a full. All I
Yeah, they're
ever
all
wanted for him.
capable.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You
they're all
know,
capable of it.
all
Yeah.
yeah, all I ever wanted for him to be able to be independent, where I didn't have to worry about him. And so you know Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of us don't be honest with ourselves, and it's just like we see the signs. Like we all got raised with our family members, our cousins. We all babysat at one point. You know what I'm saying? So you start seeing things. And I was just like, I was seeing when I'm like, there's something wrong with my kid, you know. And I'm like, as once I was like, nah, we gotta go to the doctor because I know there's something wrong. And then the doctor kept telling me, nah, I'm like, no, he's not, he can't be that slow. Like, nah. So then it was just, yeah, once we started doing therapies and stuff, like, so now it's gone through so many stages. Like, he went through a stage where it was just like for many years, it was just like nothing was happening. Just his behavioral got better and better. And now, like throughout the pandemic, he started tying his laces. He started writing, and like when he first did his first S on his own, it was like, oh my god, he threw like a party. So it's like, their achievements are their achievements are a little bit different. They're a little slower, but it's like it doesn't take away how proud you are when they finally do it, and finally seeing that, wow, he's gonna be all right, as much as you worry and stuff like that, they're gonna be all right.
So we have a question. So this is a question from Dawn Kittel. The question is, are you satisfied with the services in Westchester and why?
Yeah, I'm very satisfied. His ABA therapist is the one that recommended me his school, which is Hawthorne County Day School. And basically in that campus, it's basically a campus, and it's 3 schools, and they have basically elementary school, like a junior high school, and then like I'll have a high school for the kids. And each they all separate buildings, and the little ones have their own little playground. The big ones have their own little playground. They have their own designated area. It's a gated community. Their services are great. They offer speech, they offer occupational, and they also do his ABA, which is also awesome. They have small classrooms. Basically, it's a school designed for children with that are on the autism spectrum. So all their classrooms are like 6 students, no more than 7. 6 students, 2 paras, a teacher, and stuff like that. So, and everything is ABA. They're constantly taking data on the children. He has a swimming pool on campus and stuff like that.
So we also want to thank everybody for their comments. Michelle says she has 2 nephews that are autistic in Texas. But we have another question. So Lewis asks, if you could put it up on the screen, please. Lewis is asking, what other programs would you suggest for children with autism?
Sports. They love sports. Like he goes to he plays in a league called Challengers League for D3 Sports. Up by it's on Eastchester Road, Castle Hill Little League, stuff like that. They play in the same area as them. So sports, they like sports. At first they look like they don't know what they're doing, but then they start picking it up, and they start not getting the rules. And it was really nice to see them go from just being able, because they all get to play. So like they all get to bat, and then they switch. So it's like it's nice to see them go from, well, they got through the whole 1 inning, and then, well, we got 2 innings in, and we got 3 innings in, So and they're all enjoying themselves, and then seeing them like get up and bat, and you see all their development, like from when they started. It's really cool. So sports, music, they love music, arts and crafts. Once again, like you got to know what your kid likes and stuff like that. So, but there's lots of programs now that are available for your kids. Sports, I always say sports it's a great one because it burns energy. You definitely want them because they have a lot of energy that builds up in them. So you want to find good things to help with burning that energy out. So
I got a question. Have you ever been out in public and had to deal with somebody else trying to tell you how to deal with your child, and what if it was in a negative manner? How did you deal with that?
To be honest, I've never really yeah, I did. So Noah got into a real bad oh man, he got into a real bad, it's one of those his nervous tics that he would, like, anybody that had like an overly sized arm or something that looked like fatty, he would want to just like like slap it and stuff like that. So we got into, so he would walk by in the summertime and see somebody with a nice arm and just pop, and I'll be like, oh no. So for the most part, when you're like, I'm sorry, he's autistic, you know what I'm saying? Like, but now a lot of people understand, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people understand now. But back, back a couple like 10 years ago, it was more like, I'm sorry, he doesn't understand, he's autistic. What do you mean? I'm like, listen, lady, he doesn't understand, he's autistic, he has special needs. And then like when you tell them special needs, then they knew like, oh, okay, because they didn't know the actual word autism. So it was just a lot educating a lot of people, your family too, you know what I'm saying? And then family members, they're the first one, Tito, don't Tito nothing, because then, that becomes a crush. Like they're always like, no, I'll do it. No, he can do it. Let him try, because then your family members become a crush, give them the crutches, because it's like, they're babying him because he has special needs. Nah, they know how to do a lot of things, and they get away with a lot of things because of it too. Yeah. And I keep telling people, like, I used to tell them, like, yeah, he's cute now that he's 5, but when he's like 13, 15 doing this, he's not gonna look cute. So like the earlier you get him into good habits and good things, the better, But back to that, we were at the pool. And he slapped the guys, the guy had oversized, his breasts were a little big, so Nell grabbed it, and then the guy was like, oh my God, and he was so offended, like, and we were like, dude, we're sorry, he doesn't understand. No, he should understand, like, and it was just like, all right, and then we just walked away because there was nothing that we could tell him that would calm him down. Yeah. So it was you just roll. A lot of times, once you start explaining to the person, they calm down. They're like, oh, okay, fine. One time we was on the plane and he was just really anxious and he just kept hitting the person in front, by accident. And then the girl got up and she was like, can you? I was like, listen, lady. I was like, he has special needs. He's autistic. And then she was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's okay. It's all right. So like, people are learning, people are learning, they are, and it's understanding. A lot of people are understanding more. I think, awareness has grown. Yesterday was Autism Awareness Day worldwide. Yesterday was Light It Up Food. So, that's a lot of people. It's because it's affecting everyone. Now it's like, a cousin or a sister or a friend, or, it's getting closer to home now. So a lot of people are aware of it. Learning from it.
The reason why I say this is because I went through a few episodes. My son used to like to throw tantrums in places, and like nowadays even like you be on the train, sometimes people see children, they see them throwing tantrums, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you should beat the child." You don't know what the story is. You know? And so I just wanted to also point out to people, a lot of times you don't know what the story is and what's going on, and they instantly want to go negative. It's a child. You shouldn't tell somebody to beat their child.
Yeah. Or no, they don't have control of their kid. Like they don't know how to control their kid. Like that's their people's greatest line. Like you don't know how to control your kid, and it's not that. It's just they're spazzing out. Like, and a lot of times it's like, go ahead, spaz out. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not fighting with you. I'm gonna let you have your 15 minutes. He be all right, ladies and gentlemen. He's fine. You finish? All right, come on, let's go. After a while, it's just like you got to see when they're doing it for attention. You got to see when they're doing it because it's it's something sensory. So it's learning your child. It's like a lot of observation, and patience, guys. It's okay. Patience.
Yeah.
I know we all go through our moments. It's just like, but it's patience. A lot of patience. He taught me a lot of patience. Like I really wasn't a patient person. I just wanted, instant gratification, just like every other human. Like I want it now. Let's do this. Give me it now. And he's taught me so much patience and just be able to be like, it's gonna happen. Just when it's a
process.
Yeah, it's a process.
So we have some comments. So Dawn said thank you. Thank you so much. They're gonna pass it on to their niece who lives in Westchester. Before we go to Lewis's next question, we're gonna say Dawn said they also Michelle said they also like puzzles, and then Lewis's question is what tips would you suggest for parents with children with autism? Any tips to help build better habits?
Well, it depends on like what habits are you trying to build. Like some parents are working on different things, like just getting them to eat something, or getting them to get dressed. My biggest tips for parents is, you know, um, research, talk to other parents. Sometimes, don't be afraid to ask a silly question or a hard question. There are no silly questions. Like sometimes we're going through like potty training. Like we don't know. So, my thing is just don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone who's probably been in your position, who might have, you know, people think different things work for different people. So now so now thank God I had a good thing as far as like potty training. It wasn't that hard, but some people use Fruit Loops and had the kids just, pee in the toilet to aim at the Fruit Loops and try to get them to, every child is different. So, you know, my biggest suggestion is just talk to one another. You know what I'm saying? There's parents, when you go, like, get to know the parents that, your child goes to school with, and just, reach out to social groups and stuff like that. You really don't have that support. And, if you're not good at researching, sometimes reach out to someone like, yo, help me research, help me. A lot of people are afraid to ask for help, or are embarrassed to ask for help, or just, it's about, you gotta ask for help. It's hard to do it just on yourself.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question from Garrett.
And consistency. You have to be consistent with it. Don't start something and then think you're gonna get, like, a week later you're gonna have results. Like, in order to change a habit in a regular person, it takes 30 days. So you just gotta think about, okay, someone that's on the autism spectrum, it might take them a little bit longer. So it's just consistency, and if just tweak it, change how your approach may be. Might not be what you're doing, just might be the approach about what it is. And sometimes you gotta hide that you're working with them. Sometimes you gotta pretend it's, make it fun. Disguise the activity in something, that they don't know you're actually teaching. Because once they find out you're trying to teach them something, or like sit down and educate them with something, they're like, I don't do this in school all day. Like, I don't want to do this.
So Garrett's question is, what does self-care look like for you having a child with autism?
For me, that's very good, because a lot of parents don't do a lot of self-care for themselves. You know what I'm saying? You pour so much into your kids, and you don't take time for yourself. And people need to realize that you need to take time for yourself. Don't feel guilty for taking time for yourself. Like, I even had one time a teacher try to make me feel guilty because I missed one appointment, like, in class. Like, no, it was my birthday. I'm going to the Yankee game. The stadium just opened. I'm going to this game. Like, don't feel guilty for taking time out for yourselves. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't feel guilty for not buying that one puzzle for them and you went and bought yourself something. We're constantly doing for our kids. So you have to take time for yourself, because if you don't take time for yourself, you're not going to make it for them. You're going to wear out. You can't help them if you're dead, basically, and stress kills. People need to, like, meditate, surround yourselves with people with the same issues as you, and you realize, like, it, not that someone be happy because someone else has greater issues, but you just realize, like, sometimes, like, damn, I don't have it as bad as I thought. Like, someone else has it so much worse, and they're still content, and they're still doing what they have to do, and it makes you look things a little, in a brighter light.
So how has your family been with you and Sanel? Like, do you feel the support?
Oh yeah, I think I've been blessed, very blessed. Like, I feel like I have too much support, because it's like, all right, you gotta stop, let him, like I said, like, they're all like, no, we'll do it for him, bring him here, do this, it's all right, no, and it's like, guys, he's not always gonna be this way. We're all not gonna be here for him. Like, you're gonna die, and so am I. So, statistically wise, he's gonna be here longer than us. So it's just like, we gotta get him situated and get him ready for when we're not around, that he'll still be able to be happy and content and do the things that he needs to do. Because that's every parent's fear. Like, what happens if I'm not there? Like, who's gonna take care of them the way I take care of them? So it's just like, let's get them to the point where they just take care of themselves.
What measures have you put in place for that?
As far as exactly like when
But
you.
like, God forbid, if something happened to you, like, what measures have you put into place?
Well, right now, I just, family members, spoken to them, cared, he's to the point where I've just even start looking into facilities just in case, you know what I'm saying. My ultimate goal is that he could be in like a little halfway house himself, which is like they have their own little crib together with people. Like, my goal is for him to have his own crib, his own apartment, but you also have to set goals little by little and tweak your goals for them. You know what I'm saying? So as long my thing is like he could defend himself, say when somebody is doing something wrong to him. That those are the key goals. You know what I'm saying? Self sufficient.
How has so? Wow, this is a good one. So with COVID and him being out of school before they went back into like a hybrid schedule, how did that affect his growth with like being home as opposed to being in the setting that he was so used to being on a daily basis?
As far as his growth, it really didn't affect him too much because I was still at home working with him. So I would get home and like my mom was doing, we were still doing like the hybrid learning he was doing remote learning at home. So it was kind of good because like we kind of got to see more in detail the actual work that he was working with in school versus them telling you and not really seeing how the process was
Hmm.
in more detail. And then just being able to just the biggest thing was like anxious. He was anxiety, like always being like, we're indoors all day. We're not going outside. Like I want to go play. I want to go touch that. It's like don't touch this, don't touch that. Like it's like you're not going to the supermarket with me because like they're constantly touching things. It's just like. So it was just more of a of emotional. Like
Hmm.
it really didn't really do him too good emotionally. You know what I'm saying? And then you know um in the last 3 years, I also started doing, being that we've done so much as far as medical testing and stuff like that, and everything come back. So I was like, let's go a different route. So then I started looking into more the brain aspect of, the body. So we started going to this place called Brain Treatment Center in California, and I would say like ever since we really started doing that therapy with him, his educational has like really sped up. He went from like just zigzags and stuff like that in the last few years to like writing his name now and stuff like that. So um that was another thing that we started looking into, brain waves, brain function and stuff like that. And that was ever since the pandemic put that to a stop because now we couldn't travel,
Hmm.
alerts and vaccine mandates and all this other stuff. So now, that's put a hold on that for us. So that's the only thing I wish we could get back to really soon.
There
Is that.
hasn't been any like remote options for that.
No, because basically what it is they do. It's called the EEG. So basically they do they check your brave waves in your brain. So basically they check your alpha, your theta. There's four main ones that they check. So they try to see how your brave waves respond. Are they responding properly? Are your neurons firing properly? Which with the when he got the test done, it was shows that he has really low brain activity with certain things at certain times. So his neurons aren't firing, responding properly.
Hmm.
So what the treatment does is magnetic stimulation. So it's basically to try to trigger those electrons to
To fire.
fire when they're supposed to fire and get the waves to move as they're supposed to be. So that yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But it that therapy has really, like you could see just socially, he's more present since taking that therapy. Like it's been really good so far going through that therapy.
I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'll be into it because I'm like over here looking at other things, but I'm like, y'all don't understand. I'm puzzled, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like it's like that information overload because it's just like wow, like there's things that I didn't know. And like yeah, I have my cousin who my little cousin is autistic, and then I have other families that identify as different forms of disability, but it's like not to compare, but it's like the trans umbrella. You understand? Like there's so many different forms of being the trans identity. It's like there's different, forms of being autistic. There's different,
Not yeah.
spectrums. So it's like
some of them are highly intelligent, but yet they're so socially awkward.
Yeah.
They don't know how to approach people to like even start a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's different. Yeah, like I said, it's different. There are different levels to it. There's some that never talk. There's some that are like talk your ear off. There's some that
Mm-hmm.
could write. And some can't. Some speak other languages, but they can't speak English. Like it's really fascinating as well. Like the different spectrums and the different disabilities and stuff like that within umbrella of autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I can definitely relate to it because it was like in one of the things when they were doing the testing because they were saying that when we were trying to decide and wanting to put him on medication, that was my biggest fight. They were saying, well, we're in class and he can't learn his ABCs. He's jumping out of his seat yelling the train. It was funny because the train wasn't that far, so he could hear train like anything like sound. He's in the class, woo, the train's coming, and so it's funny. We laugh about it, talk to him, and we laugh about it, but it was, well, what do you mean my child can read? And so then we went through another series of testing, and they tested him up and down, left and right, and they were like, wow, we can really read, but you know what? Being able to do all of that and not being able to be able to put it in complete sentences and respond and stuff like that, it means nothing. And I said, okay, I can understand that getting you come where you're coming from, but we're not going to still give him no medication. We'll just send him to other schools. We'll put him through programs and we'll do all the
Yeah, I didn't want to
speech and
go the
stuff like
route
that.
of the medication because I feel like I've seen other children be put on medication and they become like a totally different kid. They don't really get to be their character. Like my son was funny, he doesn't talk. He's funny. He's still a clown. Like, and I like that energy. I didn't want that taken away from him. And like you said, like he's still developing, and and at the end of the day, like they always say like trust the science. We start giving these medications, and then like 10 years later, they pull them off the market because it was doing something else, or it stopped doing it, or it wasn't really working. So it was just like, what? I'd rather just good old consistency therapies, schooling, and just give them time. Give them time. I have a friend who's also her brother's autistic, and he's in his 40s and stuff like that, and she says it like they're constantly changing. Like he sang happy birthday for the first time at his own party, at almost at the age of 40. You know what I'm saying? So they're constantly, growing and changing. So it's just like you can't. The biggest thing is not giving up on your child and thinking that's it. You can't, because then if you give up on them, ain't nobody else gonna do it. Nobody's gonna do it for your kid but you. Because once you give up, everybody's like, another kid goes through the system. That's it.
Wow.
What fuels your passion?
My kid.
Besides the now, like, are there any other things that fuel your passion in life?
I feel like a lot of us are scared and afraid, and we be scared and afraid to talk, and it's time that we stop being afraid and have these uncomfortable conversations. A lot of people don't have the uncomfortable conversations, and we're never gonna get better in society if we don't start having these uncomfortable conversations. And it's a lot of times it's just fear, and I see a lot of parents that they're like, oh, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, girl, but take him now, start now, because if you don't start when they're young, it's never gonna happen for you, and then you're gonna be trapped. It's like you're trapped. It's like if you get to the point where you can't leave your kid with anyone, then when are you gonna have your free time? When are you gonna really, like, if there's an emergency, you gotta leave your kid there, and you gotta go take care of something, or if you land in the hospital, like, you gotta think you're also not gonna be around for your kid forever. So you need to start not being that, give them space, let them do things on their own, have them have their free time with someone else, take away the tablet, because a lot of times the kids are becoming addicted to tablets and stuff, like, that take the tablet away, it's just, it's a process. It's a process.
So if our viewers happen to have any questions and if they wanted to reach you, how could they reach you?
You can reach me on my Instagram page is Let's Take Flight 23. My Facebook is Jennifer Delgado. Simple, pretty much. And yeah, you can find me on those two, pretty much on those two things. And I have no problem answering any questions. anyone needs emotional support sometimes. Sometimes you just, I've been there. We all go through the ups and downs. We all go through like, oh my God, this is never gonna happen, and it will happen. Trust. You just gotta keep your faith up, and trust that it will happen.
Yeah, and I do have another question. With COVID, and you said with ups and downs and stuff like that, and you like you choosing because of for the safety for your son and stuff like that, not to get the shot. How is that affecting you job wise and stuff like that? How is it?
Well, the reason why I
affecting your
didn't,
system?
I went down the rabbit hole, because it's like those are the biggest things that come up when
Yes.
you look autism
Yeah.
vaccines and stuff. My son was premature,
Yeah.
so if you look in 2006, there was no different vaccine schedule for children.
Yes.
Everyone got vaccinated at the same time, and my son was vaccinated at 2 months, but technically he was still 9. He was just hitting 9 months out of the womb. So my son, I believe my son wasn't physically strong enough at that moment to receive the vaccine. And when you're not physically strong enough, if your immune system is not strong enough to receive the vaccine, your vaccine will actually attack your immune system in different ways.
Yes.
So I believe somehow it may have, because my son was on pace with everything, and then when we went after his 1 year birthday, he went and got his vaccines, and that's when everything started going down the other way.
Okay.
So that's my personal experience, my personal opinion. So then we just went down, like I said, you do more research and stuff like that, and there's different types of, that the RMNA, that the rubella measles, that's been like changed multiple times on the market, many times. So the they will never say the vaccine caused it or anything like that, and you never know. It could be environmental, you know what I'm saying, but it's different things for different people. So like I said, like, it could be many things. It could be your environment. It could be the vaccines. It could be what we're eating. You know what I'm saying? Like, that plays big parts of a lot of things too. So as far as so that's why I chose not to take the vaccine, because I feel like I'm completely healthy enough to fight anything that comes into my body. I haven't had COVID. It's been 3 years now, thank God. I still haven't gotten it. So that's why I chose not to take it, because I felt like if I do get sick, my body will be strong enough and healthy enough to fight it. So that's why I chose not to do it. As far as work, I can't work anywhere in the city, as far as a city agency. But now a lot of the other private companies are rolling back the vaccine mandate. So I'm just hoping the mayor just realized that, you got a lot of good workers out of work, and there wouldn't be so many shortages and delays and stuff like that if you just let people who were essential during the pandemic still come back and be essential now without the pandemic. But that's another story.
That's a whole slew
It's
of
a whole nother
questions.
show, man.
Yeah. That leads opportunity and growth, right?
But
Opportunity and growth.
that's I still say, do your research. At the end of the day, this COVID vaccine is not made like traditional vaccines. It's not. Do your own research. Look up this page on Facebook called The Real Not Rare. There's a lot of people with a lot of side effects, and there's people out there that are scared to talk about their side effects. Don't want to say they have side effects. So if you do, hit up that page. It's really good, because it's not rare. It's real. Just because you one side effect, but there's a lot of different side effects. And to me, once you combine all those different side effects, it's big, not little.
So we're about 2 minutes out from ending our live stream, but we definitely have to thank my cousin for definitely coming on board.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a great time.
Of course, like, she was the first person that I thought about when it came to anything like autism, especially with, us just like rekindling our relationship as family in the last, like, I think like 5-6 years,
Yeah, definitely.
So I've been really, really open.
We got a question, Dawn.
Dawn just wanted to know if you could please just repeat your contact information. Dawn, actually, I'm not gonna yuck my cousin's yum, but in the same token, we are live streaming, so you can always go back once we finish our live stream, because it becomes available for you guys to check out and rerun and share and share and share. But we want to also thank you guys for joining the live stream. We've had an amazing, packed conversation, like always, a great show. Like we always say, it's the opinion and the life experience of the individuals on the show that they're sharing with you. So we do not endorse, support, or have you guys go out and purchase a product, endorse a company, anything like that. It's only our live shared experience, right? We also want to let you guys know, please tune in next Sunday, April 10th, where we will have another amazing topic, right? My passion, my drive, I survive with not one, but two. That's right. I'm gonna have two people on the sofa next weekend. So I'm going to have Rob Vasilarakis and Tyrone Bannister. Y'all definitely don't want to miss that juicy topic. And they just happen to be also my brothers from the HIV Stops With Me campaign, which if y'all haven't gone onto the website, definitely go on to hivstopswithme.org. Like I let y'all know every Sunday, each and every Sunday of season 2. Too many times I tell y'all, if nobody tell you they love you, I love you. Yeah, I do love you, but in the same token, I need you to look at that mirror and tell yourself you're beautiful, you matter, you are important, and you love yourself. Until next week, y'all have a great week. Turn your negatives into a positive, and we out of here, y'all. Later.